What if the reason your days feel constantly rushed, exhausted, and spiritually flat isn't only because you're busy, carrying a heavy workload, or trying to manage your daily obligations, but because of who gets your first attention before anything else does? Think about how your morning usually begins. Before your feet even hit the floor, your hand automatically reaches for your nightstand and picks up your phone. In less than 30 seconds, your mind is flooded with notifications, unread work emails, bad news from around the world, and other people's endless demands. Before you have even stepped out of bed, before you have said a single word to your family, the world has already captured your focus. But what if the first part of your day stopped belonging to your phone and started belonging to God? Not because of a rigid rule, a legalistic requirement, or a religious obligation that leaves you feeling guilty, but because giving God the first part of your morning fundamentally changes what gets your attention before the rest of the world gets it. Stay with me today, because over the next few minutes, we are going to look at what actually happens to your heart, your mind, and your daily walk when you choose to seek God before the noise of the day begins. When you check your phone the moment you wake up, you begin your day in reaction mode. And for most men, it is not just mindless social media scrolling. Maybe you are checking your bank balance to see if the bills are covered. Maybe you are reading overnight work emails to brace yourself for what your boss or client is demanding. Maybe you are checking the news headlines, reviewing the family calendar, or seeing what broke while you were asleep. Before you even speak a word of gratitude, before you seek wisdom, you enter your morning on the defense. You are carrying the weight of responsibilities, problems, and anxieties that you haven't even had time to bring before God in prayer. But when you pause and deliberately turn to God first, you begin to step out of reaction mode. Look at one pattern we see in Jesus' ministry on earth. In Mark chapter 1, verse 35, Scripture tells us that very early in the morning, while it was still dark, Jesus got up, left the house, and went off to a solitary place, where he prayed. Notice what Jesus did here. He intentionally withdrew from the crowds, the noise, and the demands to pray before the busyness of the day took over. He did not wait until the crowds were pressing in on him, and he did not wait until the pressures of life had completely drained his strength. If the Son of God sought quiet communion with the Father before facing his day, why do we think that we can step into ours fueled only by stress, unread emails, and news headlines? The first thing that happens when you sit with God first is that you create space before the world enters your heart. Your attention is deeply vulnerable to whatever you reach for first in the morning. If the first thing you consume is bad news, political arguments, or financial pressure, it can set a stressful tone for the rest of your morning. But when you spend those quiet moments in Scripture and prayer, you begin the day by grounding yourself in God's promises. When anxiety arrives later in the day, and it certainly will, you are not trying to fight it purely in your own human strength. When you pray first, you begin the day by bringing your anxieties to God, instead of letting those anxieties dictate the rest of your afternoon and evening. As Psalm 5 verse 3 reminds us, "In the morning, Lord, you hear my voice. In the morning I lay my requests before you and wait expectantly." You start your day standing on a foundation of trust, rather than running in a spirit of panic. Second, giving God your first attention reveals what has actually captured your heart. When you make a firm decision to set aside quiet time for God in the morning, you will likely feel a strong sense of internal friction. Your mind will immediately present excuses. You might tell yourself that you simply do not have time for this, that you have children to feed, a long commute ahead, a business to run, or endless family obligations. And those are very real, very heavy challenges. Life for a man carrying responsibility is demanding. But if we are completely honest with ourselves, we often manage to find 30 or 40 minutes to check sports highlights, watch online videos, read news articles, or scroll through feeds, yet we claim we have no time to sit quietly and pray. What we repeatedly make room for eventually reveals what has our attention and ultimately what has our hearts. If I can consistently find time for everyone else's demands, for entertainment and for digital noise, but I never seem to have time to sit with God, I have to ask myself a deeply uncomfortable question. What has actually captured my attention? Setting aside that first part of your day is not about legalism, earning favor, or checking a religious box. It is a quiet, humble confession that you need God's strength far more than you need the noise of the world. Third, repeated obedience creates a long-term pattern of turning toward God. The Bible never promises that a morning routine acts as a magical charm against trouble. It does not guarantee that your day will be easy, that your commute will be smooth, or that your financial pressures will vanish overnight. What it does do is help shape the man who enters that day. 30 days of spending your mornings with God will not magically remove every trial from your life, but over time, it can change the posture with which you enter those trials. Repeated daily obedience makes turning toward God feel less like a difficult, forced decision, and more like a natural way of living. When a sudden crisis hits you at noon, when an unexpected bill arrives, or when bad news reaches your phone in the afternoon, you may still feel fear or anger, but you have been practicing where to turn when pressure comes.
You don't stop being human. You learn where to take what you're carrying. You gradually move away from an inconsistent, emotion-driven faith and step into a steadfast, grounded walk with Christ that holds steady even when the storms come. Let us be completely clear about one vital truth. The Bible does not command a universal 60-minute morning ritual that every believer must follow. God does not love you any more if you pray for an hour than if you sit in quiet prayer for 20 minutes. The first hour is simply a helpful daily practice, but giving God your first attention is the timeless principle. The point is not the exact number of minutes recorded on the clock. The point is who holds the primary place in your mind and heart when you awaken. If spending a full hour in prayer and reading feels completely unrealistic for your current season of life, do not abandon the practice altogether. Start small with 20 minutes. Spend 5 minutes sitting in quiet reflection, laying your daily worries before God. Spend 10 minutes opening Scripture, reading a psalm or a chapter from the Gospels slowly and thoughtfully. Then spend 5 minutes praying over your family, your work, your decisions, and asking God for the wisdom to honor Him in everything you do today.
So tomorrow morning, before your hand reaches for your phone, before you open your inbox, ask yourself one simple question. Who gets my first attention? If you're willing to try this for the next 30 days, write "first things first" in the comments. Let that be your commitment. And when tomorrow morning comes, don't just think about it, do it. If this message brought clarity and encouragement to your walk with God, subscribe to Guard Your Spirit for more practical, Bible-based teaching designed to strengthen your faith. Walk in wisdom today, guard your heart, and may God bless you and your family.